So join us on our journey to discover love, joy, peace, and happiness on the Find Happiness podcast. Today we have a very important guest called Leah Marie Mazur. She is a certified divorce recovery coach who supports women in releasing negative emotions such as guilt, shame, and failure. Through her coaching, she empowers women to find acceptance, regain their self-confidence, and strive for success. As the founder of Mindful Ready, Leah also provides a non-judgmental community for women to connect and rebuild after divorce through her private Facebook page called Divorced and Empowered. Welcome, Leah.
Thanks for having me today.
And so, how's your day coming up? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm doing fine. So, without wasting time, looking at your profile, I put down a few questions that I'm really waiting to get the answers to. And then our audience definitely will learn from this. So, are you ready? So, let me shoot.
Sure.
Okay. Great. So, can you tell me about your personal experience with divorce and how it led you to becoming a divorce recovery coach?
Yes. So when I was 16, my mother had an asthma attack in our home and died, and she was only 41 years old. And then 5 years later, my dad died of pancreatic cancer. And I'm an only child. So I essentially, by 21 years old, was on my own, and I coped with those abandonment issues and that fear of being alone by just hopping from one relationship to the next. I didn't realize that was my pattern until my second divorce. And after my second divorce, that was my wake-up call where I thought, okay, obviously there's something I've got to dive into and figure out here, because this isn't working. I don't want to keep doing this and finding myself, breakup after breakup. And so that's when I dove into a lot of self-reflection and self-awareness to figure out why I had that pattern and how I could break it by making new choices. And so then I essentially took all the best tools and the most effective methods from my own journey and was able to create a framework for other women who were healing after their divorce.
Okay, so you actually started you realized this after your second divorce.
Yes.
So after the first divorce, these feelings didn't come out.
No, because I didn't do anything you're supposed to do. I did not take the time to heal. I didn't take the time to be by myself. I hopped right into another relationship. I was essentially just running from one relationship and diving into another one. And so it wasn't until my second divorce where I thought, okay, I obviously have a pattern here, and I don't want to keep doing this.
Oh, okay. All right. I get you. That's such an experience. The world needs to hear this. Can you share, how do you help women release feelings of guilt, shame, and failure after a divorce?
So a lot of times when you're feeling those feelings, it really comes down to the conversations that you're having with yourself. Excuse me. So if you're feeling guilty, excuse me, you have to really dive into where those feelings are coming from and what thoughts are coming up first. A lot of times the guilt comes from either feeling like you broke a promise, or it comes from when you're a parent and you feel guilty because you feel like you're making the wrong choice for your children. So first you have to really figure out where that feeling is coming from, and then you have to essentially change the conversation you're having with yourself. Instead of saying, for example, I feel guilty that I did this to my kids, I'm ruining my kids' lives. You could say to yourself, well, if my kids were in this situation, what would I want them to do? And I am teaching my kids that it's okay to leave a relationship that isn't good for you. And I'm teaching my kids that it's important to prioritize your well-being and your health and your happiness. So it's really about changing your perspective.
Oh, great. So one thing I picked here is addressing guilt. One thing I picked here is addressing guilt. At every point in time when you get to that junction, just change your thought patterns and see how you can fit into the future instead of dwelling in the past.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's a nice one. So, can you share a successful story of a client you have worked with and the impact you were able to make in their life?
Sure. So I had a client recently who had come out of a marriage. They were married for 30 years and they had a few kids. And so she was in like midlife, and she was struggling with some guilt and second guessing herself and wondering if she did the right thing. And so after working together for a few sessions, she was able to build her self-confidence, find acceptance, feel better about the decision and about the direction her life was headed. And she has since met the love of her life, and she is in a very healthy relationship. She's very happy. They're actually on vacation, traveling together right now. And her kids have welcomed her new partner into their lives as well. And so she really is living her best life right now. I'm really proud of her.
Wow. After 30 years.
Yes.
That's serious. That's serious. You know, the divorce rate right now is very, very high. Very, very high. And a lot of people will be looking up to our conversations. Those who are divorced right now will be looking up to how they can, get to recover. And this is one of the reasons why we have Find Happiness, where we help people by telling other people's stories and experiences. You can't really experience everything all by yourself. So you need to learn from others. Thanks, Leah. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so talking about judgment-free community on your profile. So how do you provide a safe and judgment-free community for women going through divorce?
So it's a private group. And so in order to join, you have to ask some membership questions, and we have administrators that filter people to make sure that they're not spam accounts, to make sure that it's not your ex-husband trying to get in, and it's for women only. And so it's a great place to come and lean on others, learn from others, get support, guidance, and get inspired and motivated so that you can create a beautiful life that you love. A divorce, it doesn't define you. It's just something that is a part of the story that you're writing. And so when you can feel a lot less alone by connecting with other women who understand, sometimes that makes all the difference.
So why? I look by this question. I'm just being troublesome here. So why did you create it just for women? Don't you think that some men are also going through the same thing? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And there are coaches who coach men as well.
okay.
I wanted to only work with women because if I were to have a support group that everyone's ex-husband was allowed to be in, it would definitely change the dynamic of that group, and people wouldn't feel comfortable asking the questions that they do, right? And sharing the stories that they share. So in that case, that's what makes it a safe space, is they can come and they can share and they can ask questions without worrying that somebody is going to use it against them in court, for example.
Oh, yeah, I get what you mean. So if men have to the men listening to, I'm also speaking for you. You can go out there and search for divorce recovery coaches for men. They should be out there. And she's speaking for the women. I'm sure the women they'll be bulging their eyes out. This is a very important information. Okay, so speaking to that, how do you rebuild their self-confidence after the divorce? How do you do that?
A lot of that comes from challenging yourself to step outside of your comfort zone, doing things that maybe that you're not used to doing, because it's a misconception that you can gain confidence you gain confidence first and then you go do the scary thing. It's really backwards. You have to do the scary, uncomfortable things, and then when you do that, that's when your confidence builds. So for example, if if there's a creative outlet that you were always interested in, maybe you wanted to join a dance class or a hiking group or, do photography or anything like that, that's the time when you're going through a divorce, when you're healing after divorce, when you're trying to find yourself again, that's the time where you want to explore and discover and experiment with different things, because you're going to learn more about who you are. And then you're going to find something that you're good at. And when you do that, your confidence is going to build. But it's stepping outside of your comfort zone. Like, for example, a great exercise is to take yourself out to dinner, just yourself, or take yourself, just if you want to start easy, just go get a cup of coffee and sit somewhere with a cup of coffee alone, if it's something that you've never done before. When you do things like that are uncomfortable, and then you realize, oh, I can do this. That wasn't that bad. Well, if I could do this, then maybe I could do this. And if I could do that, maybe I could do this, right? And that's how it's a snowball effect and your confidence builds.
Oh, so speaking to stepping out of your comfort zone, if you would like to speak to that, what was your comfort zone for you? What was the comfort zone for you?
So one thing that I actually did, I had always loved to sing, but I was afraid of singing in front of other people. And so after my second divorce, I decided I was going to join a band. And I was terrified. And when I showed up to the audition, I was shaking and sweating. But I told myself that I was proud of myself just for showing up, even if I didn't get the part. And so I did the audition, and I ended up actually getting the part, believe it or not. And so then I was in a band, and it really fulfilled me so much because it was something that I enjoyed. It was something I looked forward to. It was challenging, and my confidence skyrocketed. And I still, to this day, I still sing in a different band.
Oh, that's awesome. Would you like to sing anything?
Not today, not with this cold I'm dealing with.
Oh, just kidding though. Well, I wish you would, but it's fine too. It's fine. So, okay. So, how do you approach the topic of emotional healing in your coaching sessions?
Well, everyone's different. So even though there's a lot of commonalities in women healing after divorce, every marriage is different, every divorce is different, every person is dealing with different obstacles. So it really depends on what they're struggling with. Some people really struggle with adjusting to being alone, right? Just like that was my big challenge, was learning how to be alone. And some people just have a hard time letting go of their ex, or if their ex had moved on to a new relationship very quickly, that's something that they're having a hard time accepting and moving on. So it really depends on the situation and what obstacle they find themselves bumping up against.
Well, that's a very big one. Most times people always look back. They want to see what the other person is doing, to see if it will guide what you're doing and all that. To me, I think that's all bygone. Let it go and move on, because if you continue to live in the past, you just live in the past.
Yes.
Which is not healthy at all.
No, yeah. And you can get stuck there for a long time. So it is important to understand that you have no control over what they're going to do. They're going to live their life, and you should definitely put your energy on your own healing.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So can you talk about any challenges you faced as a divorce recovery coach and how you overcome them?
That's a good question. I don't know that I've come across many big challenges as a coach necessarily, but as an entrepreneur, I could say, there's a lot of challenges. This is the first business that I've run myself. And so there's a lot of trial and error there. But at the end of the day, it's really, for me, it's just about trying to help people and trying to make a difference. And so as long as I continue doing what I'm doing, I think every day I get a little bit better.
Oh, okay. Great. Okay, so I just have a few more questions for you, about 3 of them, so we can wrap up with this episode. But these are the big ones. So, how do you help women create a new life for themselves after a divorce?
So it's important for them to nurture the relationships they already have. When you come out of a relationship, you can feel very lonely, but you're not alone. You do have people, friends, family, coworkers. So it's important to stay connected to them and nurture those relationships as well. And it's important for you to be practicing self-care, making sure that you're nourishing yourself, your mind, body, and soul. Again, making sure that you're getting new hobbies and creative outlets. That's a great way to pass the time, to learn about yourself, figure out who you are, what you enjoy, what you're good at, and it builds your confidence. So those are really three big things that I would start with when you're trying to create a fulfilling life for yourself on your own.
Oh, nice, nice. And how do you support women in finding acceptance and moving on from their divorce? Like, this is very key too.
So one of the great tools that they can use is sitting down with a journal or a piece of paper and challenging yourself to find the silver linings. Because what happens in a divorce is you get really caught up in everything that you're losing, everything that's changing, everything that's happening that you wish wasn't happening. And so to shift your perspective and change the way you feel, it's really powerful to focus on what you're gaining. What are the benefits? What have you learned? What do you know now that you didn't know before about yourself, about life, about relationships? What can you do now? Or what do you have the opportunity to do now that you didn't have the opportunity to do before? What kinds of things are the silver linings? Where are the benefits of this situation? And when you can focus on those, it puts yourself in more of a state of gratitude and it helps you gain acceptance.
Wow. So I just hope you know that you're not speaking to the women alone. You're also speaking to the men. Yeah, because it's both ways. Like whatever happens to A can happen to B. So I'm picking a lot of things here. So this is for both men and women, but you're just for the women though. So I'm trying to speak for the men. Okay. And lastly, how do you help women thrive after divorce, both personally and professionally, especially when they have been depressed or when they are depressed?
Well, if they're depressed, if it's an actual depression, then I would recommend that they work with a therapist. So the difference between a therapist and a coach is a therapist can diagnose and treat mental disorders, anything like depression, anxiety, anything that's going on. PTSD sometimes comes up. And then therapists tend to help you work through the past. Whereas me, a coach, we're very future focused. So it's essentially, where do you want to go? What is your goal? Let's get you there step by step. Here are tools and actionable steps to help you move in that direction. And so you have to be really clear on what it is, what kind of support you need so that you know who you should be reaching out to. But a lot of it is just about helping them validate their feelings. Sometimes people go through a divorce and they don't have the support of friends or family, and that can be really hard. So helping them validate their feelings, reminding them that their happiness and their health is important, their well-being should be a priority of theirs. And then helping them learn how to find themselves again, figure out what kinds of things they enjoy, what fills their own cup, and then prioritizing self-care, making sure that you're not putting yourself on the back burner and taking care of yourself so that you can feel like you're living a life that feels good to you and that feels fulfilling.
Oh, great. Yeah, I know that this is a very important topic and everybody would want to jump on this. I'm really excited. I'm grateful that you made yourself available for this. I'm sure that you've educated a lot of people and you're still doing that. Hopefully there'll be a part 2 of this where we can go deeper. But before that, before we wrap up also, would you mind sharing your contact info for a lot of people who would want to reach out to you after now, because a lot of people need this?
Absolutely. So if you go to my website, it's mindfullyready.com. That's mindfullyready.com. You can connect with me if you'd like to book a consultation. You can download a free empowerment guide and training video to help you gain acceptance, build your self-esteem, and gain clarity on what you want next. You can also come join my private support group. It's Divorced and Empowered on Facebook. You have access to all of that through the website. And then there's also coaching services as well.
Oh, great. Anyways, to wrap this up, your insights and personal story were truly inspiring and provided valuable information for our listeners. I appreciate your time, your effort, and would I say preparing? This is not preparing, it's in you. It's in you, okay? Yeah, for this interview and sharing your wisdom with us. I hope to have you back on the show as soon as possible for the part two of this, where we'll really go deeper. And thanks for being a part of Find Happiness podcast. And to our listeners, sit down and make sure that you don't get depressed. Make sure that you find happiness the best way you can and speak up whenever you're going through stuff. Until next time, bye for now. See you again.